Gilster Mary Lee goes back to 1895 when my great uncles came over from Germany. They came up the Mississippi River and started a flour mill in southern Illinois. Kind of remained a flour mill up until the 1950s, and that's when my dad, Don, recognized the market for flour was declining, and so his customers were telling him he needed to go into consumer products. And the very first product that they did was cake mix, which utilized the soft wheat that's grown kind of in our parts of Illinois and southeast Missouri. And so quickly realized, though, that he couldn't compete against a Betty Crocker, a Duncan Hines at that point because they were already becoming big national brands. So he hitched our wagon to private label or store brands, as we call them today, and we've maintained that focus ever since. We came to Perry County in 1969 when Don and his brother Mike and some of the other Gilster management team broke away from a company that owned the majority interest in Gilster Milling at that time, which was Martha White Foods. They came over here to Perry County, found a empty shoe factory building, and started Mary Lee Packaging. And so Mary Lee Packaging operated independently here for 2 years, and Don would never say this, but he kind of forced the parent company to bring them back in, and they merged the two companies back together in 1971, and it became Gilster Mary Lee. And at that point, the family and the local stockholders held a majority interest in Gilster Mary Lee, and Martha White took a minority interest in the new company. And so they maintained that good relationship for a lot of years. Gilster then continued to grow here in Perry County and across in Illinois as well through acquisition and some organic growth. But our biggest growth opportunity came in the mid-1980s when we got into breakfast cereal and built the cereal plant, which is across the street from the old shoe factory building. We probably have about 50 different unique products, I would call them. We make about 4,500 different SKUs, though. So that's individual boxes of Schnucks microwave popcorn or Walmart coating mix. Or so if we look at things along those individual SKU lines, we produce about 300 different brands across all our customers. We started, I'm sure, with about a dozen people back in 1969. And although the number is a little smaller today because I think of some of the tightness in the labor force, but at one point we were up to about 1,600 employees in Perry County. That number is about 1,200, I would say, today. We have grown both in our manufacturing, in our warehousing. We have the large plant and distribution center that's down in McBride. We also have 2 cereal warehouses here that just handle and ship cereal, as well as the manufacturing plants that we have today. We built the new truck garage out in the industrial park, which has been a great addition to our fleet and allowed us to efficiently maintain the fleet and dispatch the fleet. The coating story for Chick-fil-A is pretty amazing. We started with them when they had 1 store, and today we ship about 70 truckloads a week of just the coating mix. So if you think about all the chickens that goes on, that's a lot of product out there. Yeah. But overall for the company, and a lot of that, I would say 2/3 of that ships out of Perry County. In our busy season, we can be up to 300, 325 loads a week across the whole company. This one is a good one, I think, in terms of Gilster's history, but it was the early 1980s, and we were very much in a growth mode, and Don was looking for new product lines to get into. And, he would think about things and talk to people and talk to customers. And one of those things that was kind of percolating in his mind was breakfast cereal, because there was only one company in the whole country that was doing store brand breakfast cereal at that time. And so, he had these ideas, but didn't know how to get into the business. But, as God sometimes provides, he brings a solution to us. So one day, my dad was sitting at his desk, and the switchboard operator called and said, "Don, there's a guy from NASA here to see you." And he said, "A guy from NASA? What's he doing in Chester, Illinois?" Let the guy in and visited with him, and it was a young engineer. And he said, "The space business is kind of bad right now." This was the early 1980s. There were a lot of budget cutbacks. And they said, "We know at some point Congress is going to give us the money again to grow." This was before the space shuttle and those types of programs. "But for now, we're trying to find work in private enterprise that will allow us to keep our engineers on staff and not lose them." And he said, "We can work on any kind of project very cheap." And he said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "Well, for $5,000, we'll tell you how to make any food product that you want to make." And, even in 1980, 5,000 wasn't a huge amount of money. So my dad said, "Fine, I'd like to learn how to make breakfast cereal." So they signed a contract there. My dad thought he might never see the guy again. But about 6 months later, the NASA engineer came back. He had taken a Kellogg's cornflake case and filled it with technical documents that these NASA engineers had been working on for 6 months. And so it took us about a year to get through it and understand it. But that was the very basic information that we used to get into the breakfast cereal business. And I said, we always like to tell that story to customers to prove two things. One, it's a story where the federal government really did help you. And then also we like to tell our customers that making cereal really is rocket science. I have great memories of being in Perryville and Perry County. As a little kid, I would go over with my dad on Saturdays, and he would walk through the old shoe factory building before the cereal plant was there. And I didn't really pay attention to what he was doing, but I knew at the end of the day, we would go to Kentucky Fried Chicken and get boxes of Kentucky Fried Chicken to import back into Illinois on our way home, and really had a lot of good memories of people that I met as a young person here in Perry County. This was the first plant that I worked in, actually, in Perryville. The advantages of being in Perry County are the people. Tremendous, dedicated, ethical, dependable people. It really is the small town advantage that I think a lot of people just take for granted, because it's not like that necessarily in larger communities where people don't have the connectivity that you do here in small towns like Perryville. The government has been extremely supportive of our business locally, at the city level, at the county level, and the state level, and it makes it a real pleasure to do business. It's definitely a place we've chosen to grow through the years, and I think as we have opportunities, that's where we will continue to grow. We just added a new production line into the cake mix plant, making baking powder and in a canisters, and that was a new addition of some business, and we thought Perryville and the Perryville plant was the best place to put it. So there's certainly challenges for everybody, especially even before COVID and now post-COVID, but everybody's working through those, and we're very proud to be a corporate citizen here.
Back in the day, Rozier's being part has been over 120 years now. We came into Perryville in 1903, and they went into the building, and it was a one-stop shop store at that time. That building was before that, in 1980 or 1897, was the T.L. Phillips building that was made, and it was the original Opera House. And our great-grandfather, John F. Lotta Sr., made his way into this area. But getting back to the history, with the Rozier name first, and then coming into the Lotta's name. The Autobahns and Roziers came from Pennsylvania area in Ohio, came down towards the rivers. And they came this way. Their fathers sent their sons this direction to not fight in the Napoleonic Wars and start the retail business. Well, Autobahn, he decided to get out after 5 years in 1811. The Rozier family stayed in, but they found out that they had a better location in the St. Mary's area because they had a river port dock there in between the St. Louis and New Orleans area where they got their goods. Our great-grandfather, John F. Lotta Sr., worked with the Roziers and graduated, and he worked there till 1900. And when they came to Perryville in 1903, Roziers got started at 120 years ago. So, so that was pretty neat. And he stayed under working with Mr. Rozier, and then Mr. Rozier had an unfortunate early death in 1917, and John F. Lotta Sr. Bought the business and kept it in Lotta's name, and starting in 1918. So back in the day, the store grew in time, and it was in one building. And of course, I brought up that it was always considered a one-stop shop. And at one time, it was considered one of the larger clothing stores in Southeast Missouri. So we were actually known for the clothing part up until the early 60s. And as time went on, though, we had to add on, because there was, like, of course, everybody sees growth. So in 1953, they started seeing the more supermarket industry getting going. So we put a bigger supermarket in 53, and then in 1979, they added on. And then in 82, we started adding on to that building. And then, of course, we started having to add across the street to get the new supermarket even up to date. And we had True Value. We had the shoe department. And then when we did that, we had Karen's Hallmark come in, and it's seen the industry growing in the fabric business. The clothing was growing. We made adjustments even in later time. We've improved and updated the older building in Karen's Hallmark area, and to kind of bring the history back, showcasing the hardwood floors. Karen's Hallmark went to another direction with the clothing and put that back towards the front. And of course, we have the tuxedo line that's been great. And then our food center has expanded with the larger liquor store area, the deli. Yeah, just a lot of great things. It's as time has went on, we've seen additions, and then we've had to update cooling units in the food center, and then we've approached 120 years. So it's been many years. This is a good one for me because I've heard it from many people. Talking about John F. Lotta Sr., this is one about the Great Depression. The farmers had tough times at the Great Depression. So it was a big thing back then to barter with the farmers on paying for groceries, and what they bartered and traded with was chickens. And other things he was able to do, sometimes the farmers didn't see their profits till the end of the year, so he let them wait till the end of the year to pay their tickets off. And with the loyalty and honesty in that time of era, the farmers would pay their ticket off. The other one was talking to priests in the time of the day, the St. Mary's Barons here of the college and the church. They have mentioned that they would have not survived if John F. Lotta Sr. with Rozier's not had been a big internal part of helping them out throughout the years, those Depression years. They have mentioned that he was able to write some of the bills and tickets off so they could survive. And of course, they've made it, and thankful with the business too, and staying in the Lotta's family. That's been an internal part of I think Rozier's itself, and keeping and also the Lotta's name too, with all the family members staying and working together. The employees have been an internal part, as in the past into the present day, which with great gratitude. And to be able to have fourth and fifth generations working in the building, the fourth generation with Karen Lundy, myself, Maggie, Brad Lottis, and Renee Stratman. And then with two of the fifth generation are Brett Schamberg and Brooke Lottis. So that has been a great part, but I have to really recognize the citizens of Perryville and Perry County throughout the years, and the people that visit. with them coming and shopping and keeping the loyalty and everybody working together and shopping at the store, and with us having the good employees and staff members we have, it's been a big part and it's been great and successful throughout the years.